Thanks for joining us on another edition of You're Included, the unique interview series devoted to practical implications of Trinitarian theology in today's complex world. Visiting today is Dr. Andrew Root, Assistant Professor of Youth and Family Ministry at Luther Seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota. Dr. Root is author of Revisiting Relational Youth Ministry, From a Strategy of Influence to a Theology of Incarnation, and Relationships Unfiltered. Thanks for joining us again.
Towards the end. And when the young person can't conform to the agenda that the youth worker wants them to go, they feel justified in cutting the relationship loose. Where I think imagining our relational ministry as place sharing actually calls us to be faithful to the young person in the situation. So the depressed girl that we have in our youth group, if we're trying to influence her, the objective of our ministry is to get her over our depression, get her over her depression. But if the objective is really to share her place, then we confess that only God can heal her, only God can come near to her and heal her broken humanity, and we're called to join her in her suffering. And I think often part of the problem with seeing our ministries as influence is it can't suffer, and therefore it lacks some reflection of who God is for us in Jesus Christ, which is to take on our suffering, to take on death in its fullest, and then break death by being overtaken by death in the resurrection.
Isn't it kind of hard to de-link, let's say, from or unhook from the sense of need to influence and fix?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really hard. It's incredibly difficult. And I think that's the whole specialization that we fall into. That, of course, is so common in our culture. I mean, if you drop your computer, usually you have to go to a specialist to fix it. Or if something's not working on your computer, there's a different specialist that runs the software and another one that works with the hardware. So we're so used to specialization. And I think youth ministry has fallen into that. And we hear this all the time when we invite other adults in the congregation to volunteer, to participate in the youth group or to participate in confirmation or something. You'll hear them say, well, I did that 10 years ago, or I don't know what I'm doing. And essentially, and sometimes you'll even hear them say, well, that's what we paid you to do. And what, of course, that means is you're the one who's specialized. You've received the specialized training to do this. So often the real problem with youth ministry is that it tends to let the church off the hook, that we hire someone who does ministry with our children, therefore we don't have to. Where I think a better way of looking at the youth worker or even the paid youth pastor is not as the one who does the ministry, but someone who equips and is trained to equip the rest of the congregation to do ministry with their own children. So I think that's where we really get hooked, is that we think, well, it's my job as a specialist to influence kids. Therefore, when I have my end of the year evaluation, what will I point to as having done a good job? So it is a full paradigm shift in how we even think about ministry. But my point is to try to embed that in our theological commitments, more than simply kind of pragmatism of what will work and how do we get it to work, and try to really drive towards what does it mean to be faithful to who God is.